Hey YouTube, it's Lisa. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to have a chat with you about my month of January. Getting close to the end. I'm filming this on the 29th of January, so I wanted to give a status update on where things have progressed the first month of this crazy 2025 year. This video, let me just get this. I'm using my little knockoff of my plotter for my notes. So let me just get my notes out. And sorry for the desk setup and the two different papers on my desk, but I just wanted you guys not to see how in need of I am for stripping down my my dining room table. So let me just get my notes here going. I want to talk to you about January's read and how I did in January. So I'm going to recap my books that I read in January. I'm going to talk about the fountain pens that I also used in January, and then what it's going to look like moving forward in the month of February. Get something to drink. If you're hitting pause for the first time, or I should say play and stopping by my channel for the first time, welcome to my channel. I talk about things books related, fountain pens, and stationery. This is moving kind of more into the bookish realm than it is on stationery per se, but I'll chime in on every once in a while on things that I'm buying in regards to stationery and fountain pens. Less on fountain pens too. So I'm still rocking this wonderful EDC carry for hopping around town, taking notes, especially when I'm just doing loose notes. If I'm trying to figure out dates and I'm going to doctor's appointments and so on and so forth, then I'm kind of taking this one. I have trimmed this one out with plotter paper, and I'm using the plotter inserts for this year, and I must say I'm actually really enjoying the paper inserts from Plotter themselves. Here's what the monthlies look like with the plotter paper. So I'm really looking forward to, in the month of February, with minimum decoration and garnishment, but I'm trying to use up some of the MU rub-on stickers that I have. I have a lot of items that I've acquired over the years since I kind of hopped into this in a hobby slash kind of lifestyle format. And this year, my goal is to try to use as much of what I've got existing before buying anything new. I need to shop my storage bins for art, books, stationery paper, etc., etc. So that's the goal this year, because I'm also going to try to move this year. And so I need to kind of shell out. The money needs to be more allocated for that. Although I will say I have gone into quite the book mini haul splurge, and books are quickly taking over where fountain pens were at such a more enjoyable change for me, and one that's still going to have to be monitored and kind of curtailed at times, because that can get out of hand too. And especially because I'm one of those crazy people who like to buy the book in various formats depending on where I'm going and how I'm traveling, physical versus audio, audible versus Kindle. So gotta definitely watch the spend on that. So this is going to right now have the notes that I wanted for the month of this episode. I'm sorry, the episode notes. I also want to do a brief recap on some of the camera equipment that I purchased. So I am getting more back into photography, and one of the things that I bought towards the end of the last year, just because it was relatively inexpensive, was this Memo Shot Error from Canon. It is a black and white only camera. I like it because you can actually throw this into a lot of bags and just take it on the go. It does have a selfie reflection mirror if you're going to take selfies. I will say that the quality of it, because it is a thermal type printer, is not necessarily the best. So if you're going to try to capture images, if you want something that's a little bit more stealthy, or more, I should say, longer lasting and more enjoyable, you might want to go with the Canon selfie printer, which I've demoed on my channel previously, and I will just give you a copy of, I'll show you some of the photos that I was able to take with this one. This one is color, and it's a inkjet processing one, and as you can see, I've been playing a lot of my Nintendo Switch and golf, and so every time I kind of hit a championship where I actually finish as the champion. I've been taking photos just because I've really been enjoying that. But otherwise, lifestyle photos, I've got these right here. These are on postcard style paper. And then I have these wonderful they call these label ones. I finally hit my fitness goal in January. Now that my injuries are kind of healing up, I've been able to start to work out. But you can see the quality of this on a Canon is going to be much better than what you would get. This is just a copy of the thermal printing paper that comes out of the Canon. So I do enjoy this. However, I don't know if I'm going to keep this one. I might end up selling it. I'm not sure yet. I do think there's probably an application for it. It always seems so much more, you just got to tinker around with it. I noticed that when I was just shooting it and not adjusting any of the settings, you do need to play with the contrast of this and the brightness of your images, and then it prints halfway decently. But it is strictly a black, white, and I would say gray, because that's the mix together kind of camera. So there's that. I also recently demoed the ShiftCam Pro Grip and some lenses. I was going to go shoot last weekend, but it was bitterly cold here in the DMV, so I didn't really get out like I wanted to. Plus, somebody showed up at my viewing event for my Premier League soccer team, and we hadn't seen that person in like 6 months, and so I got side railed with that, so I didn't really do what I wanted to do. So hopefully, as the weather warms up, I'll get to show you kind of the lenses on that. But the grip itself is fantastic. So without further ado, let me. I keep putting away my notes here. Sorry about that. Let me get into January's read and what I did in January. January so far has been a very good start to 2025. I'm going to zoom this camera up. You're going to see a little bit more of my dining room table than I want you to, but I had a very good reading month. So in January, I ended up reading so far all of the Court and Thorn and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. Absolutely loved this series. Very adult. I would not, if you have teenage daughters, do not let them read this book. It's way too spicy, in my opinion. You can do whatever you want. I'm not trying to tell you how you raise your kids, but it's a spicy book. I mean, the sex scenes are pretty, when they get into them, it's pretty detailed. I also read, that's 5. I also read The Shining, which was a book. This was a novella from Jan Fosse, is how you pronounce his name. He's a Norwegian writer, translated by Damon Sears. This book was very interesting. Magical surrealism, I guess I might put it in there. I won't spoil it. I have my write-ups on Fable. If you want to follow me there, I'll put the links below underneath the description of this video. I have all the write-ups to this entire series of books so far for the month of January. I also read on my Kindle, and I'll put the photo up. I already talked about my January TBR, but I did put up, I finished reading The Personal Assistants, and I read How to Lose a Time War, which I would say that book is also fantasy, and it was my flop for the month of January. I really didn't particularly care for it overall, I don't think. I know it was on a lot of lists last year in 2024, but I just found it to be off-putting. The writing was a little bit, I didn't really jive with the writing so much and the writing style. As well as the one from Fosse, I didn't really jive with his writing style either, but I haven't read a lot of short fiction. And so therefore, I would say those 2 books were probably my 2 biggest disappointments, but I felt like overall the other 6 books that I've read so far were not, and they were highly recommended books, solid reads all the way around. So I got this one last year in 2024. I bought all 5 of the Sarah J. Maas books. In addition, I didn't buy this one. I bought all these in the month of January, so I've got to kind of slow my roll when it comes to spending on books because I wasn't trying to buy a lot of physical books. But these three books in particular are going to be part of my February read. So I've got Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower, and then I've got Giovanni's Room and Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin. Those are going to be part of my February picks so far. Additionally, let me just get into what I also am going to be reading, which was not, I'm trying to read this book as well. This is my nonfiction pick, which is Surrounded by Idiots. I have been looking at this book for a few months now, so I decided to go ahead and put that on my TBR for January, February, since I've started. I'm also reading The Jade War by Fonda Lee currently. I just started that one like Sunday. I'm about halfway through that one, so hopefully that slides into the January time frame. Otherwise, I might put a pin in it and continue it in March because I'm going to make February a BIPOC month. So that's going to be Black, independent, people of color reading, and mostly African American since it's Black History Month in the United States. So I'm going to do that. I've been enjoying my book club book immensely. I'm trying to still figure it out. It's a first time that I've ever utilized this book, but so far I've been doing all of the little prompts, so that's been very, very helpful with that, and doing my color coding for all the books that I've read in January, putting down, I don't do so well with these bookshelves. I have a whole big poster that came with this book. If anybody wants it, let me know in the comments. The first person that says they want it, send me a ping. I'll send it to you. It's big. It's a poster size. So it's this, and it has like your bookshelf and then books that you want to get. But I find that for me, I could care less about my bookshelf because I'm just not keeping track of it that way. Okay, so February picks, I've already showed you 3 of the books. Additionally, I'm going to come down here really, really far. I'm going to do the Chain Gang All-Star. I'm going to zoom up so you guys can really see this. I want to read this book in February. I want to read Holler Child by LaToya Watkins. And I'm not going to tell you what they're about. I'm going to just tell you what I'm reading because I haven't acquired them yet. Chain Gang All-Stars was all over BookTube and TikTok last year in 2024. And I know it's about, I can tell you this brief synopsis, it's about people that are in a prison who have to fight against each other like it's like human fighting and their experiences around that. Holler Child, I forgot what this one's about, so I don't have that one. And as it gets closer and I actually hit this book in February, I'll give you the synopsis and what that is about. Or you can always check it out on Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com. I'm Surrounded by Idiots. I am going to try to finish this as my nonfiction read in the month of February. I've got some other ones in here. I already told you about Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin. I'm going to try to read, I'm going to do this one, Washington Black, which is a story of a slave who gets picked or chosen by his master, I think, to go on this grand kind of fantasy adventure. And he gets off of, I'll say, the plantation or wherever he's at, and his viewpoints of what he encounters is what that's about. If I remember this correctly, I might not. I don't have the synopsis for the books. I didn't write them with me, unfortunately. I apologize. And then lastly, Binti by Nindi Okorafor is supposed to be a really good book. Now, I read 2 of her books that were duology last year in 2024, and I wasn't overly impressed because things just kind of leaped all over the place for me. Like, her writing was a little bit off-putting, but I want to give her a chance because people have been raving about this one, and that might have just been that duology. So, she's a Nigerian-based writer. I'm going to definitely give her a read. A little reluctant to start this one, though, I will say, just because it's a trilogy. So I might try to, like, dump 2 of the other ones that I picked to get through the whole entire set. My goal this year in 2025 is to not leave any books hanging in a series, or if I know it's a trilogy, to be able to get all 3 books if possible, Benti already has book 2 out. It's already come out, I think. And book 3, I don't know. It might not come out until next year. So I kind of want to be able to read things like I did Sarah J. Maas. I'm going to start reading the Throne of Glass series, I think is the next one that I'm going to try to tackle. And I've already set aside 2025 to be kind of like read the series, read the entire thing so I don't have any gaps or breaks in 2025. So nonfiction, bring this back up. Nonfiction, my goal is to get through Surrounded by Idiots as well as my nonfiction. And then March, I'm looking at trying to do some one-offs like Normal People. And I'll just tell you, I'll let you know if I'm going to stick with this or not, because there's a chance that I might not be in the mood to read the books that I'm saying. Normal People by Sally Rooney. I've not read any of her items yet. I want to read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. And I've been really looking forward to Frederick Beckman, Anxious People. This synopsis on this book sounds absolutely like right up my alley. And I'll highlight those in the month of March, but that's kind of a preview of the things to come for the next month or two ahead. So with that being said, I want to now go and talk about my January currently inked and my February currently inked we're going to do here. And it's going to be, I'm doing a lot of continuations. I am not buying fountain pens like I used to. So I'm just using what I currently have. I'm not in a spending spree that way. And especially with me trying to move, I shouldn't be in a spending spree for fountain pens. But there are 2 that I want to try to acquire this year if I can. And it might be on pause again for another year just because, 1, moving, 2, travel. These are the things that I'm kind of putting more of a focus in on. So January, I retired the Jinao. I had that X6 pen, which is kind of like the knockoff for the Mont Blanc pen. I wrote with that. I am definitely selling that pen, so that's going to be going on sale. And I will be doing a pen sale of pens that I'm not going to use. The Opus 88 Demo and Extra Fine. I moved the ink out of what I had it in, which was, I can't remember what pen I had it in, and all the way back into December. I had it in another pen, and I decided to ink it up late. I'm going to write with this pen until it runs dry this month. It might carry over until the month of February, although I just got done using this to do journal entries. So I don't think at this point on the 29th of January I'm going to get done with it. But when it runs dry, I will be retiring that pen. So that will be my first February ink. I noticed the ink colors that I had. I had these colors. And let me zoom in for January. Sorry, I'm going to zoom back out. And I'm sorry for the light. The light's kind of going through blinds. I didn't have a good green after I put this one out. I had that in a fine nib. I decided to, in February, ink up my Platinum 3776. This is in a fine. This almost writes like a needlepoint, which is great if you write small or you have to write small because of the size or format of the books that you're utilizing, or planners or journals that you're utilizing. So I inked this one up in a green ink, and I'll show you that for February. I also had leftover ink in my Minima from Benu. I'm still writing with that ink that I have inked up, and that is, I put in this one, Diatramentus Aubergine. It's still got that ink in there. And then the last ink from the month of January that I decided to ink up, or still have currently inked, in my Laban. This is the Cambridge 325 or 3225. And this one I'm still writing Dominant Industry Earl Grey Tea, and I still have quite a bit of ink left in this pen. This pen writes gorgeously. As soon as this one runs dry, I will also ink that one up. My Sailor Star, I call this my Star Wars pen. This is my Pro Gear from Sailor. I decided to ink that one up. This one has Wearingeul Star Spangled Splatter, and I decided to ink up my Leonardo Nuda. So I'll tell you about that one. And I've got a couple of other pens that I decided to ink up for the month of February. So let's do the February ink up. Because I just got to a point where I got tired of writing with the pens that I did have inked. They were boring me. I got impatient, as one normally does. And if you've been in the fountain pen hobby, that's kind of a common practice. So let's start with my first edition that I decided. I went with my Pilot Vanishing Point. Let me just zoom out a little bit. My Pilot Vanishing Point. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one. And I want to make sure I'm in frame. So the Pilot Vanishing Point, oops, I did this. I wasn't paying attention how far up I was. My Pilot Vanishing Point, this is in, I do believe my nib is a fine. I do also have the nib in an extra fine. This is Venta Lucia. That's the first one that I decided to go ahead and expand on. Still writing and rocking the, oh, wait a second. Hold on, sorry, I forgot about something here. Okay. I just have to double check. I might have done something really crazy here. Okay, the second ink that I wanted to continue with is, I decided to go ahead and write this until it's dry. And this is the Benu. And this is the Minima, and this is in a fine nib, and this is the Atramentus Aubergine. And I'll hold this up close to the camera once I'm done doing all of these. Leonardo, this is the Nuda. I love this pen. And this one, I have this in, I think this is a fine nib. Yeah. And this has in it Diamine Oxblood. I have two Leonardos inked up because I finally got the nib from Leonardo. This pen, I talked about this last year. I put this in the DC Pen Show back in 2023, and I finally got everything corrected on it so that I can write with it in 2025. Hallelujah. So this one is my Leonardo. Should have put that up underneath the blue. This is the this is a primary manipulation one, and this is a Jonathan Brooks blank, and this is in a fine nib. And woohoo, let's see here, what ink did I use? Oh yeah, this has Sailor Mano Coque ink in it. It writes beautifully. The nib unit finally sits in the housing. So what was wrong with this pen was, once you unscrewed this to fill it up, I just take it out of the housing there. It would screw back in, but it was loose. It kept turning and turning. So it was like the blank, it was stripped. And so it just would leak all over the place. And I took it to the DC Pen Show and talked to Clarissa. Clarissa finally got back to me because I didn't realize that Leonardo actually takes a break in December. So like nobody's in the shop finding it. So if you're writing Leonardo, it's like you're sending it into the void. So you kind of have to pester them a bit to like get them to like respond. But once they do, they're very responsive. So I've got that one back. This one I've got, let's see here. I've got 4 other pens inked. I went from having just like a minimum of like 5 or 6 to like 8. Okay, so let me just do this one, which is the Opus 88. It's writing very dark. This is the Opus 88 clear demo. And this is a fine. And this is Robert Oster African Gold. The color's unique, but it's kind of growing on me. I hated it when I first got it. Absolutely thought it was horrible. But now it's kind of grown on me. Next off, my Sailor. I call this my Star Wars pen. I will put what the actual name of this is as soon as I look through my fountain pen inventory. This is my yellow. So this is my Sailor Pro Gear. And this one has, I think this is, oh, this one has a customized nib. So I got this one with a custom grind. I'm going to do custom grind, and I think it is an italic custom grind, although it's not writing like it right now. This one has Diamine Red Series Candlelight. And I love this ink color so much because I think this is probably one of the most legible yellows that you can possibly get. It's not golden, but it does kind of look like golden, but it actually does have yellow properties. And the last two, love this ink color. And this is, once again, this is the Laban. I decided I didn't know how I wanted to write this down. Laban. This is the Cambridge 325 with a fine nib. And this is Dominant Industry Earl Grey tea. Beautiful writer. And with all of those colors, I always look at my collection of pens that I have inked up, and I'm like, it's missing a color, and I think that color is green. So we're going to put a green ink in here, which is my Platinum 3776. Absolutely love this color. You can see what I mean by how fine that it writes. It's very much a, I'm going to go ahead and post it because I can. It's a very fine writer, and this is only the fine. And this has Robert Oster Jade, and it's becoming quickly one of my favorite green inks of all time. All right, so let's just show this close up. So I've got the Vanishing Point, the Banu, my Leonardo Nuda, my Leonardo Primary Manipulation, Jonathan Brooks, and Matte Finish, which I didn't write down, my Opus 88 in clear, my Sailor Pro Gear, my Star Wars pen, the Laban Cambridge, and my Platinum 3776. And like I said, you can see how fine that writes. Still on the fence about selling this pen. I kind of like how fine it writes, like I said, for smaller notebooks and things that have small spaces or small writing. So that's really a good feed. So that's my lineup for the month of February. That's what I'm going to be using until the pens are all used up. And that's all I really have. If you have any questions, what are you using for the month of February? Would like to know. What are you reading in the month of February? I know it's Valentine's Day. Funny that I'm staying away from romances. One might slide into my reads for February. I just got to really see what's going on, but I'm really, truly excited for these picks right now. I'm quickly becoming a serious James Baldwin fan. Octavia Butler, I hear that this is kind of prolific considering what's just happened in California, which is saddening to say the least, but this is supposed to be one of her solid reads, so I'm looking forward to that and giving her another shot. All right, until next time, guys, take care. I really do appreciate you checking out my channel, and have a great rest of your day, weekend, week, wherever you are, and hopefully your February starts off awesome. All right, bye.